Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rise News analyst, Emmanuel Afeni. Good morning, Mr. Afeni.
Good morning, Victoria Tundu MQ Abiola. I had to say that slowly. Yes. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, sir.
Now, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Well, I will start with the story, the window story. IOCs, that's above the masthead. IOCs lament escalating oil losses, say threat has reached existential level. One, new marginal field licenses may face evacuation issues. Federal government pays $100 million for Nigeria cement power project. NUPRC insists on 40 billion barrels reserves, 3 million barrels per day drilling target. NLNG output drops by 35% on rising oil theft vandalism. Yes, the MD of Shell, the managing director of Shell Nigeria Limited, Mr. Osage Okumbo, said that the high oil losses caused by crude oil theft had resulted in Nigeria's daily oil production declining from 1.8 million barrels per day in the last 3 years to just a little over 1 million barrels per day. Now you ask, oil theft, Nigeria, and nobody is being held accountable. Nobody has been fired. No security officials have been dealt with. No NNPC official dealt with. And we're just assuming oil theft is a way of life. We talk about it, perhaps we'll start singing about it. And both government officials and the rest of us will just mourn about over this matter. People taking Nigeria's oil. And these are not petty thieves. If you are losing as much as 800 million, 800,000 barrels a day. Yes. Some of these oil guys said as much as 85% of our oil production being stolen. I don't know how this country can survive. Nigeria must be a very rich country because at the level at which the country is being dealt with from all sides, you will expect that this country will collapse someday. Unfortunately, it continues, but again, there's a breaking news so far.
Yeah, so there's a quick breaking news. I think the report came in this morning from the BBC, and now we can confirm that UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to resign. It's been political upheaval all through the night. About 50 of his ministers have resigned. They totally do not have confidence in the government of Boris Johnson any longer. You can see the door there of number 10 Downing Street. And any time from now, Boris Johnson might probably walk through that door and come out and make that statement like most prime ministers normally do, to make a statement on their resignation. Boris Johnson has gone through a lot in recent weeks. At first was the Partygate scandal, and now was the Chris Pincher scandal, that has rocked Boris Johnson. And everything crystallized only yesterday when two top ministers, Sajid Javid, the health minister, and the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, did turn in their resignation. Yesterday, the resignation continued because at about 8 o'clock in the morning, some more ministers resigned, and then Boris Johnson attended PMQs yesterday, Prime Minister's Question Time, where he was battered, by the leader of the opposition, by the leader of the Labour Party, the opposition, that's Sir Keir Starmer. And afterwards, there was a very, very moving statement by Sajid Javid to tell the Parliament why he resigned, and he said everybody should do what is right, that the game was up for Boris Johnson, and he was doing it in loyalty to his country, and people needed to be accountable. So the story is just coming out there. We're wedging in front of number 10 Downing Street. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson set to resign. That's the breaking story. We'll follow you with the update later. So you want to say something about that?
Well, yes. It was reported yesterday that key cabinet members went in to see him and urged him to resign. Even Nadim Zawahi, that had barely been chancellor for just a few hours, was saying, look, you have to go. And he was saying he wouldn't, and talking about how he has to stand on his mandate in a sort of presidential system, whereas the UK quite clearly practices a parliamentary system of government. So it was looking increasingly untenable, this stance that he took. And it's to be contrasted with Margaret Thatcher. When she was approached in that way by the men in grey suits, she did what was right, fell on her sword, and she left. And he had to just put the country through one more night of this kind of horrendous, sham of a situation. And now he's going to go with really what's left of his dignity, just the shred that remains of his dignity.
Yes, which takes us to the Times of London, which reported, if we just put that up, Johnson fights for his life. Yesterday, a delegation of cabinet ministers went to him and asked him to do the right thing by taking a dignified exit. But Boris Johnson responded by saying, look, I'm 100% sure I'm going nowhere. I'm ready to fight this out and wait for a second confidence vote. Yesterday I told you that confidence vote that he narrowly squeezed through looked like a tonic for him. And he was actually waiting for a second confidence vote. But from that report you just read, clearly there's no time for a second confidence vote because the odds were really stacked high against him. And he had to do what he has to do. Just throw in the towel and save the rest of his country. The embarrassment of having a prime minister who don't know what is right, appointing somebody with dodgy character into a very prominent position. And, of course, it spilled right there on his face, even if it had to be booze spilling on somebody's face.
And it's going to get even worse when you're talking about appointments with dodgy characters. Now he's hemorrhaged all the ministers. Who was he going to replace them with? It's really slim pickings. Who's going to want to sacrifice their career, their credibility to work for a Johnson government? So he was going to have to end up scraping the bottom of the barrel, and that will impact the quality of governance that people get. That will impact the Tory party. They would not have smelt the premiership for the next few decades by the time Boris Johnson was done. So this is really the best thing to have happened. He's had his own Ides of March moment, figuratively, of course. He wasn't literally murdered, but he's got to go.
I mean, and what this will even do to the Conservative Party, I think those were the words of Sajid Javid yesterday. And when you look at it, the Conservative Party, I might be very impetuous to say this, but the Conservative Party is considerably damaged.
Of course.
Because if after this, they have somebody to be like a pro-tem prime minister leading up to an elections, the people will definitely want to show their grievance in those elections because of all that the Conservative Party has taken the nation through in all of this. I mean, this was the same man that a couple of years ago the people were saying is the best bet for the Conservative Party to win an election. This was the same man that won with an 80-seat majority, but it just tells you that 24 hours is really a long time in politics. He's lost confidence of everybody. And no matter how much he tried, no matter how much he even tried to sack Michael Gove yesterday and blame him for being disloyal.
I thought that was extraordinary.
For him to resign.
I think that wasn't why. It's because Michael Gove stabbed him in the back in 2016. This was revenge. I'm sorry.
So
there was no need for that.
Other than to carry out a revenge.
Yes.
I mean, so with all that scapegoating with Michael Gove, I mean, it just shows you that
what was he thinking,
really, the time is up. The time is up. It's time for you to pack your things and leave Downing Street. Because I think, like we're talking about yesterday, I think Downing Street had been empty for a while. You know why? Because number 11, the other man, Rishi, had pretty much moved out.
He moved out back in April.
10, I'm sure Boris too will move his things out and leave his family. But he'll be fine, because
he'll go back to being a journalist.
He'll go back to being a journalist.
I hope my favorite Labour Party will step up and do something.
Yeah, Starmer though.
Yes. Well, let's just return to the newspapers, the Nigerian newspapers. That is now the lead story of this day, Nigerian newspaper of record. Buhari visits Kuje, queries intelligence response as ISWAP claims responsibility. President questions why prison defenses fail to work. Demands comprehensive report on incident. DSS warned correctional facility of planned attack. Presidency. Activities of criminals won't discourage our government. Security cordon in Abuja after Kuje prison bombing. Atiku, Akeredolu, Afenifere, others speak on development. Now, the Guardian newspaper also has a story. Buhari decries poor intelligence at Kuje jailbreak, demands probe. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, why Kaduna train attackers invaded Kuje prison. Target police formation, Kanji, Niger prisons, ISWAP claims attack. Actionable intelligence ignored. 2 police officers nabbed for conspiracy. I am disappointed with our intelligence system. Buhari, Northern elders, dons lash at president over Senegal trip. Then if we just look at the Nation newspaper, yes, the Nation newspaper, also the same story, Kuje prison, 64 Boko Haram suspects escaped after attack. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, I just keep the lead story and go to the story beneath the photograph. APC VP candidate Tinubu's talk between El-Rufai, Shetima. Party chieftains ask court to stop APC, INEC, from replacing Masari. They may just be stuck with Masari. Yes, well, but let's see how the court will roll on that. But still, one headache for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, unable to pick his preferred running mate as we speak. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, I just keep the lead story and go to the story below the photograph. Gunmen attack NYSC lodge in Akwa Ibom, rob, rape female occupants. The level of insecurity. Now, corps members are not even safe, even in Akwa Ibom.
They're never safe,
Yeah.
Mr. Fenny. It's awful how they're treated.
Now, if we just look at the Business Day newspaper quickly, how discos incurred 485 billion naira energy debt in 16 months. Security operatives moved to secure distressed discos. Now, the Kuje prison attack. Sometimes I wonder what manner of security personnel we have in this country, or what those heading these security agencies. The DSS had information and passed it on to the prison authorities of an impending attack, and that attack happened.
Same as Chibok.
So you wonder, do our security agencies work in silos? Everybody doing his or her own thing. Now, for the DSS, if they had that kind of information, is it enough to just pass it on to the prison authorities or the correctional authorities, central authorities, and just go to sleep?
No follow-up.
No follow-up.
Yeah.
Because clearly only the prison authorities cannot defend that facility
Absolutely
in the
not.
event of that attack. So who is the head of the DSS that does not know the next logical thing to do to avert and prevent that attack? These guys meet in security council meeting with the president. So what do they discuss if they don't know how to cooperate to avert an incident like this? Sometime last year, the governor of Niger State raised an alarm that Boko Haram, they are well camped in his state, a shouting distance from the federal capital territory. Nobody took that notification, that alarm seriously. And now we have this. And the president is surprised, just like myself, about the level of our intelligence gathering.
You know, we normally pray a prayer in local parlance. And it's not that we don't love our country, but we say, may Nigeria not happen to you. And what that prayer means invariably is that when they say Nigeria has happened to you in local parlance, it smacks of that incompetence you see now that is annoying you. It smacks of being able to do what is right to avert a situation, but people just leave it in a laissez-faire manner. That's where they say Nigeria happened. But that's not supposed to be the case. We need to turn the tide around and only say Nigeria happened for something positive. So it just shows that people,
But with this kind of leadership we have at people different levels,
people do not take very due cognizance of their responsibility in positions. It is a failure of leadership, pure and simple. But you see, it is one thing for leadership to fail. It is another thing for you to rectify it. The problem and why we'll continually have prison attacks is because Nigeria has built a culture of incompetence, and not only in leadership, it's every area of our national life. And you know what I say about culture? Culture will eat strategy for breakfast. No matter how good your strategies are to secure the prison, as long as you have a culture of incompetence, even if the intelligence reports come, nothing will be done about it. It is still the culture of incompetence. I asked our guests, do we have CCTV cameras?
If I thought you were asking the wrong person. Because he doesn't work there.
He doesn't work there. But
yes, he said there are.
But you see, what he said after that, he said that he doesn't know the functionality. So even if you have CCTV cameras and it doesn't function, it is that culture of incompetence. And it is the culture of the fact that I know that even if something happens, nothing will happen to me. I will just beg one of my superiors to tell them not to fire me and I'll be exonerated. It is that pervasive culture of incompetence that makes things continue. But how do you do it? You need to break cultural cycle by renewing new culture. So how does the new culture come? The new culture comes by firing people. So if after
that
this...
is not in the character of the president.
He has to learn it.
He's
the best employer.
Yeah. You can just say that.
We have to
no matter how poor you perform, the president will keep you.
Because they will not resign. Yes. So they need to be sad.
No, but the president will keep them.
We have to have a culture where people are fired. You see, there's no hard feelings about firing people. And we should state it here. It is just that you didn't meet something called the KPI, key performance indices. That's why you are fired.
But I told you, even a court reinstated somebody who was fired over jailbreak.
For you to be firing somebody over incompetent, you must have also satisfied yourself that you appointed the most competent person.
That's good.
If you did not do that, you overskipped, you sidelined the most competent person and picked the person of your choice based on primordial considerations.
That's another part.
How will you fire that person if he doesn't perform?
It's a clear indication of trouble sleeping and pride. Something we call yanga in local parlance goes to wake up trouble. And what are you looking for? You're looking for problems, wahala in local parlance. And that's what's happening here. Because of the level of incompetence. So it is trouble upon pride to accept that you have gone wrong. Then we are having the full-blown wahala. And that's why even when you give the finest intelligence, nobody does anything. At least the first question we should ask is, what's the chain of command? Who does the intelligence reports go to? What is the reaction time? I mean, those are... But you see that there's a culture of incompetence.
And we have a national security advisor.
So...
some big title.
Awful.
Who does not coordinate all this?
It goes back to culture.
Somebody died, a security official lost his life, and we have terrorists on the street.
We got to face on the poor man.
Terrorists on the news.
People have to be sacked.
You ask that question, and I put it another way. If terrorists apprehended are not in maximum security facility, who are those that maximum security meant for?
I find it bizarre.
It goes back to the culture of incompetence again.
So you have
what is the most
the head of a correctional service that does not know the appropriate place to put people like that.
It goes back to the incompetence.
So terrorists apprehended are in the same facility with Joshua Dariye, with Abahari, and perhaps even petty thieves.
to further criminalize them and radicalize them. But they did say, there was a report that those people were in Kuje and they were being de-radicalized. How effective is that de-radicalization program?
So much
Clearly
for
a complete
de-radicalization.
It goes back to incompetence. I mean,
You know, we have always questioned this de-radicalization process.
Exactly.
yeah. I mean,
Giving Ashobi and feeding people who have maimed,
and jollof
killed,
fries, like Dr. Abati will say.
giving them that kind of treatment. What kind of information have you extracted from them? Those people should be facing trial.
Of course.
But no, this is Nigeria. The Nigeria of President Muhammadu Buhari, a different kind of governance.
It goes back to the level of incompetence. I mean, we had a guest that was talking about the fact that they said they had dollar, pounds, other foreign currency in prison. People had phones
belonging to the bandits.
Do you know that there are prisons now in this country that they pay rent? That you pay 1 million. It's like a hotel suite. You might not have all the full luxury, but you have some basic level of luxury. You know that they'll give you access to use your phone.
Basic level of comfort.
Of comfort in Nigerian prison. So there are different hotel cadres in Nigerian prison as we speak. It's always a case of the highest bidder. They say all prisoners eat bad food, but some people can eat better food. Depends on how you can pay for it. So it goes back to that level of incompetence. Should the prison even be run in that way in the first place?
Of course.
You're wrong.
So once you have incompetence, once you have that culture, then things cannot work. But you can break that culture by breaking that tide of incompetence in the first place. So it's a total overhaul that is needed. And let me tell you something. In changing culture, even if you change the name of the prison to the correctional center from today to tomorrow,
That's cosmetic.
Exactly.
nothing will
That's
change.
cosmetic
What was the point of
change.
that?
I was wondering what
was the
those
point
change.
of that
There was so much fuss about,
What they do
they are
about
now
nothing
known
like
as
change
Nigerian
here.
Correctional Services, yet nothing changed. Still the same level of incompetence as we have seen demonstrated in this situation. Very unfortunate.
So many failings. Thank you very much, Mr. Feni, for your time.